I really just, I gotta scratch my head. I just don't understand. I mean, the lie goes so deep, guys. Okay, you realize there's no spin to the Earth. And so their explanation as to why they say the hurricanes move in one specific direction north of the equator versus the opposite direction south of the equator is due to the Coriolis effect? No, guys, no. Here, let's just watch a little bit of this video.
The plane would have taken a curved path to the right. The opposite would happen in the southern hemisphere. An object traveling from the equator to the south would get deflected to the left. So what does this have to do with hurricane spinning? Well, at the center of every hurricane is an area of very low pressure. As a result, the high pressure air surrounding the center or eye of a storm is constantly rushing toward the low pressure void in the middle. But because of the Coriolis effect, the air rushing toward the center is deflected off course.
See, they have to explain why, according to the Coriolis effect, it would be deflecting toward the right in the northern hemisphere. Yet we have the hurricanes going counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, so they have to make up this bullshit explanation. Watch.
In the northern hemisphere, the volumes of air on all sides of the eye keep getting tugged slightly to the right.
Slightly to the left. No, that's not what's happening, lady.
The air keeps trying to make its way to the middle and keeps getting deflected, causing the entire system to spin in a counterclockwise direction. In the southern hemisphere, where the Coriolis effect pulls air to the left, the opposite happens. Storms spin around the eye.
Okay, stop right there. Okay, let me just go back here. Remember the fluid dynamics demonstration that I showed you before, where the guy was dropping dye into a still tub of water, of liquid, and he's not moving it, and he just flipped this little flap here, and it caused the same vortice that we see in a hurricane. Remember that, guys? I showed you that. So, I'll show it again.
And some orange food coloring. We're going to flip a little plastic flap there on the left side of the tank, right there, right at 9 p.m. There's the flap being flipped. That builds a vortex. We'll now speed up the speed of the movie so we can see it. And you can see it's strongly three-dimensional. There's tons of turbulence inside there, and it's quickly mixing together all the different colors. And that kind of a strongly three-dimensional, highly turbulent vortex is somewhat comparable to what you see in a hurricane.
Okay. There's no Coriolis effect going on over here, guys, right? And it's the exact same pattern as a hurricane. So what's going on? Well, let's look back. What do we see here? Okay, got my dry eraser. We see this vortex happening right here, right? See that right there? Bam. So you have a higher velocity around the perimeter there. So there's more force, right? There's more force toward the bottom end of this little vortice here as opposed to the top end. So it's spinning counterclockwise like that, right? Let's go on here a little bit.
That builds a vortex. We'll now speed up the speed of the movie so we can see it. And you can see it's strongly three-dimensional.
Well, simply if you flip the flap in the other direction, the vortice would spin clockwise, right? Like if you flipped it from the bottom up. So it's a variance in the velocity from top to bottom or side to side or whatever edge is exerting more force than the other edge, right? So now if we can look at our concave Earth, we realize that the sun is moving, right? Here's the sun. It's moving along. Okay, it's kind of nudging. So when we see hurricanes going from east to west, the sun is like nudging it along like that. Even in the southern hemisphere, the sun is nudging along the cyclone. They call them cyclones in the southern hemisphere, from east to west, just like how our sun moves. Okay, so now just simply look and understand. Within the Earth, it's warmer in at the equator, right? It's hot at the equator and it cools off gradually the farther away you get from the equator. Now, if you understand anything about barometric pressure, atmospheric pressure, there's more pressure when there's colder air. There's less pressure when there's hotter air, when there's warmer air, okay? So, looking at a hurricane, let's go to Photoshop here. Okay, you look at a hurricane, the higher velocity is going to be north of the hurricane, on the northern edge of the hurricane. So there's going to be more force, more acceleration going on, more pressure. So it's nudging it along, it's going across the top, bam, like that. It's just like that flap, it's flipping it. The sun is moving across, it's nudging it along, but the flap, there's more pressure on the northern end of the hurricane in the northern hemisphere. That's why it is circling counterclockwise. We got the 6 and the 9. Remember, when it's counterclockwise in the north, just remember 6 and 9, 6 and 9. Okay, and then you go to the south. I got a little graphic here of the south. It's the opposite. Okay, the warmer air with lower pressure, lower speed is in the north now, and the higher pressure, the colder air and the more velocity is in the south. So now it's going this way, the hurricane. Even though the sun is still nudging it along this way, for the most part, the hurricane is still moving from east to west. But the spin action is because there's more pressure in the colder region, on the colder side of the cyclone. We call them hurricanes in the north and cyclones in the south. But it's the same concept, okay? Has nothing to do with the Coriolis effect, guys. Okay? Pass this around, tell the whole world, okay? A spinning earth is bullshit. Okay? Hurricane-like vortices do not happen within a spinning container, let alone on a convex spinning ball, which magically holds water together to the surface by this magical force called gravity. On and on and on. Okay, you're inside the concave spherical Earth. Okay, and ether is pushing you to the ground. There's a Coriolis force coming from the center. There's my other. But it's ether. It's an ether Coriolis force. I'll show you. See? Got this spin, but it's an ether Coriolis force. That's why when you shoot a bullet to the east, it will sink, and when you shoot it to the west, it will rise. I'm sorry, switch that. When you shoot a bullet to the west, it will sink, and when you shoot a bullet to the east, it will rise slightly. Okay, guys? There. Solved. What else can I tell you? It's solved. Ether, okay? This guy says it's all because of the spinning earth. No, it's not because of the spinning earth. You know, why is there a differential with the bullets? Okay, you got them going 8 inches lower toward the west and only 3 inches higher toward the east. It's because it's not a spinning earth. Otherwise, it would be equal. It would be like 5.5 inches each way. But it's not. It's not. It's just simply the higher pressure, the higher speed. Higher pressure, colder temperature, higher speed. That is the direction. That is a churning. Okay, this is in the south. This is in the north. You got the higher pressure in the north. In the northern hemisphere, you got the higher pressure in the north of the hurricane. And so that's where the velocity, where the momentum is going. It's pushing. That's where the flap is coming from. It's all right there, guys. What else can I tell you? Pathetic. 222,659 views. And it's Nova PVS.